Hey, futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio. Like a lot of folks, we've been watching what has been going on with vaccine rate uptake in our countries and right around the world. And we know this is a very complicated situation. And I want to talk today about the increasingly negative implications of vaccine hesitancy, because this is a trend I've been tweeting about for quite some time. It's a trend that I recently blogged, and it is a trend that I think has some pretty profound implications as we go forward into this future. Now, I know in Canada, we are now leading the world in terms of vaccine uptake, and I think this positions us extremely well when it comes to our future economy, because I think what we need to be realizing is there is both a plus and a minus to regions that have a high uptake compared to regions that have a low uptake. Now, look, I've been thinking about this because I do a tremendous number of talks about the future of healthcare, whether for healthcare associations, hospital groups, pharmaceutical companies, all kinds of different organizations. Look, I was with a global leadership team of Pfizer over in Paris just a few months before COVID hit to talk about the acceleration of medical science, telemedicine, virtualization of medicine, the acceleration of medical knowledge, and all this type of stuff. So I've been thinking about the future of healthcare throughout this situation, and I want to take you back and put in context what I think is going on in terms of a post I wrote way back in 2017, the emerging healthcare reality crisis. Now, what I was doing was I was preparing for an event to put in perspective some of the most challenging healthcare conditions of our time. And I'd been watching trends in the US, which is representative of the type of challenge that we're having in the world today. What I did in this post was I took a look at the emergence of a lifestyle disease. So for example, kidney failure, and you can see this is concentrated in the Southwest. It is concentrated in a variety of states. If you look at diabetes and obesity is concentrated in the same states. Well, because kidney failure usually comes from diabetes and obesity. Heart disease rates is related to this. The same states, same regions, same challenging issues. Percentage of adults with hypertension. It's all concentrated in one particular region. And look, I try not to get political, but what I observed at the time was, look, this is where a certain group of people are supporting a certain political person. And what I wrote into this post is, look, this is not going to end up well. I think we are seeing the emergence of a group of people who are choosing to invent their own healthcare reality. They don't believe facts. They don't believe science. They don't like to hear what they are hearing. They're just going to make up their own healthcare circumstances. And I wrote that increasingly this is going to lead to a tremendous challenge for the US healthcare system. It is going to lead to excessive cost. It is going to lead to excessive death. And this post has been out there for almost 4 years now. Well, look, it's become very real, because certainly what we are seeing with vaccine hesitancy, when you look at what is going on with the various regions of the states and the various regions of the world where we are seeing hesitancy, the numbers are bearing out in the same way. And I'm going to go over here to the desk to put this into perspective for you, because I think you want to understand really what is going on here, because this is a very real trend. If you take a look at the percentage of US adults who are hesitant about receiving a vaccine, it lines up with the same maps. It lines up in the same way with the trend document that I put in perspective in this blog post back in 2017. I started tweeting about this quite some time ago. Back in June, I wrote that, look, people need to start talking about the economic implications for these regions. Will corporations want to relocate factories, logistics centers? Will they want to invest in regions which are going to have an obviously high economic cost for doing business because of excessive healthcare costs? I started looking at the data, and a couple of weeks ago, actually just last week, I wrote a blog post, the increasingly negative implications of vaccine hesitancy. And I think you need to understand what is going to happen here. So I want to walk you through 10 of these trends. Over time, these regions are going to see a very significant increase in healthcare costs. Long COVID, that's the phrase that is used to describe the long-term impact of those who fall prey to the disease but survive, face a very difficult and very costly path going forward. The second trend this leads to is it makes the healthcare system far more challenging going forward. These regions were already dealing with significant challenges as a result of lifestyle disease. And This comes on top of an already strained healthcare system. It makes it worse going forward. I think the implication of part of this is that healthcare workers themselves will be hesitant to relocate to these regions. I spent some time in 2015 at a conference talking about what would be the attributes of a region in terms of trying to attract new doctors, new nurses, new medical professionals. These individuals, these professionals have a choice as to where they're going to move, and they're going to be extremely hesitant to move to regions which are faced with this tremendous challenge of hesitancy. What doctor wants to go to work in a region where a majority of people think that healthcare science is a fake thing and they are not going to respect his or her opinion because they are choosing to make up their own reality? I don't think it is restricted to doctors. I think it is, also the professional class, skilled workers, executives and companies. They're not going to include these regions on their future locations of potential spots to locate their family. Who wants to raise a young family in an area which has built-in systemic failure as part of the system? And I think this is what these regions need to begin to recognize. And I think this is what individuals need to begin to recognize as well. Look, conferences, trade shows, meetings, events, my world. I go to a lot of conferences. I speak at a lot of events. And cities compete for the big global and national and regional trade events and conferences. Well, look, our association's going to be willing to take an event to a region which is displaying extremely high rates of hesitancy. And I think that what you put all of this together in future economic opportunity starts to take a hit. What manufacturing company is going to want to locate in a new region, a new factory in a region which has extremely high costs? Regions will be hobbled with these low vaccine rates. The likelihood of an unreliable workforce that is hobbled continuously by ongoing healthcare issues. So look, these regions are going to be less attractive to companies seeking to relocate new facilities, whether it's head offices or manufacturing or logistics centers or anything else. Another real implication is that these regions are going to take a hit when it comes to brand image. In the world of economic development, brand image is everything. You've got to present an image that you're leading edge, that you're aligned to trends, that you are developing an environment which is conducive to business. Well, if you're one of these regions, you're going to take an obvious hit. I think overall what all of this leads to, and this is what I was alluding to in my post, is that we're going to see a new economic volatility, and we certainly saw that with stock markets yesterday as they begin to realize that COVID has not magically disappeared, that it's going to be with us for quite some time, and that this issue of hesitancy is going to have massive economic implications. The ninth trend, well, reduced government revenue. If you have a decline in economic activity, if you have a decline in economic growth, governments are going to be able to raise less in tax revenue. Less money available for spending, and they're dealing with the increased healthcare costs and everything that comes with it. The deficits are going to increase, and obviously, number 10, an increase in political instability. Look, I try not to talk about politics because it's often a no-win situation, but here's what I wrote in my blog post. These regions, which were already on the edge of sanity, fall further into the abyss of widespread mental illness, accelerating their insecurity and outlook. Look, somebody's got to be talking about this because this has major economic implications going forward. This has major implications in terms of the future, major implications in terms of trends, major implications in terms of every single industry I speak about, whether it's healthcare, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's tourism, whether it's insurance and finance, whether it's retail. The future sometimes is really ugly, really challenging, and I think that's indicative of the type of era that we are living in right now with this issue of hesitancy. So I think you're going to see a lot more folks talking about this issue, thinking about this issue. I've been talking about it for about 6 months at least, and I think we are only beginning to comprehend the depths to which it is bringing challenge and change to our future. Look, I'm an optimist. I'm an optimistic futurist. When I would walk out on stage, I would say, look, I have to, be an optimist. I can't walk out here and say, guess what? Your future sucks, because I wouldn't get a lot of repeat bookings. But I am increasingly negative about the impact of this trend. And I'm going to close out here with a little video clip that I put together on the really bad negative trends which could be shaping our future. And you can actually find this list of really depressing insight at the web address badthings.jimcarroll.com. I'm going to close out with a clip. I'd encourage you to go read that. I'd encourage you to go read my 2017 post, The Emerging Healthcare Reality Crisis, because I nailed the reality 4 years in advance of where we are today. And I would encourage you to go read the blog post, The Increasingly Negative Impact, Economic Negative Impact of Vaccine Hesitancy. That's it for now. Futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual broadcast studio. Here's your really depressing clip.